Sustainable innovation is a better way forward as an organization. And this better way forward includes multiple perspectives that span beyond the needs of the customer and the needs of the shareholder. Organizations that are looking to innovate in a sustainable way are able to both move and be moved in the communities in which they operate. And they aim to make a meaningful and valuable contribution to addressing social and environmental concerns at play in our world today. Climate change and the global social conflicts are accelerating, and the impacts of those events are severe and I think deeply felt in our world. Organizations who fail to accept responsibility for the environmental and social harms they inflict on the world, I think will increasingly face existential risks as an organization, both from the environment and from the social context in which they operate. And so the question before the majority of us at this time isn't whether we need to accelerate our collective response, but how to do so, which is really the better question to be asking ourselves right now, I think. If I was to strike at the heart of it, foundationally, organizations moving in this direction of true sustainability are recognizing that they need to meaningfully prioritize the needs of people who do not identify as stakeholders, or rather as shareholders or customers in their organization. Such organizations really go deep with this inquiry, and they ensure that the most senior leaders are actually genuinely empowered to move in this direction. The thing that I think is interesting is that there's many unique answers to that questions and unique perspectives to that questions, so that perhaps one of the hardest barriers facing us today is our ability to hold those multiple perspectives as each being unique and true from their point of view all at once. So I'd say that's one of the barriers maybe that's holding us back, is being able to hold multiple perspectives with integrity. That said, I'd offer that one barrier facing our world today is a lack of conviction and leadership to navigate the conflicts before us. We see this everywhere when we see leaders who seek to divide rather than unite, who seek to deny or dismiss or minimize on some level key issues like climate change and social change in our organizations and in the world. And therein lies a true conundrum, because the leaders that we need are having to do battle with a long tradition and culture of kind of egocentric leadership at play in our world today. And they have to do that in addition to sort of developing and growing sustainable innovation in their organizations. So the leaders that I work with are grappling with this stuff every day in their work and life, to live and work with purpose, to embody their values genuinely. Whatever they don't achieve in their lifetime, they will pass on to their children or to the people that they have touched in their lives. They recognize value and come to trust this in themselves. And this is what moves them into action with confidence. The missing agile value is prioritizing environmental and social impact ahead of maximizing profit. And I believe that when the writers of the manifestos, of the Agile Manifesto, came together, they lacked, I think, the lived experience to be able to appreciate that the manifesto needed to bring a certain moral backbone in order to implement the many values and principles that they put forth about creating a more human-centered workplace. A bit like I was mentioning earlier about how there are multiple perspectives at play in our world, all valid and true. I think there are multiple implementations of agility of the values and principles of the manifesto in our world today. And each of them in their own way sort of fit for purpose. How agility is implemented within a startup environment versus how it shows up within a public service environment, how it shows up in a larger sort of corporate organization, all will sort of manifest itself a little bit differently. That's the beauty of values and principles to a certain extent, is they allow you the space and bandwidth to create something that is fit for purpose. But the values and principles continue to challenge you on that front, right? Because there's an aspect of there's always room for growth and room for improvement there. So where are we on our journey? It really depends on who you ask. To me, I think the thing that's marvelous about the Agile Manifesto is that it still seems to find resonance in our organization with people today, some 20 odd years later after its original inception. So I was very lucky to start my career as a software developer on a team that was practicing XP. I had never heard of any of this in my academic studies. So I was exposed to XP back in the 90s and really loved the way that this connected both a core practice instead of processes, with a more human-centered approach to doing that kind of work, which was desperately needed, I think, at the time. I moved from being a software developer into a role of an Agile coach. And I transitioned in that direction in my career. And when I got to the point where I realized I really loved working with people and tackling the complexity, the human complexity of the work, more than the software complexity of the work. Oh, yes, of course. I think the values and principles are written in a way that you can create them sort of fit for purpose within your organization. So I've been privileged to see an expression of agility in government, in Canadian government. I have been privileged to see it in crown corporations. I have been privileged to see it in large organizations, software development organizations, and most recently working with a climate technology startup. I think there's a place for agility to a certain level in many organizations. It comes back to, again, sort of the concept of the conviction and motivation of the leaders in the organization to take on these practices and take on these values to improve their way of working. I think the word I like to use is positive, rather than optimistic, if you will. I trust in our inherent humanity to want to do good work in the world, to want to be of benefit to the world. I have seen it time and time again in different organizations with different leaders really struggling and grappling with the context in which they find themselves and really wanting to create a better place. I've come to trust that. I don't really hope anymore. I just trust, because I've had enough experience, I think, within various organizations to see it manifest itself in different ways. So yeah, I'm positive.